فاطمة المناعي وكيل وزارة الإسكان والتخطيط العمراني على هذا العرض الشيق الذي يلقي الضوء على جهود الوزارة في تقديم الخدمات الإسكانية للمرأة. أما الآن فنفتح باب النقاش حول أحد المحاور الحيوية في مشهد الإسكان الاجتماعي، وهو دور القطاع المالي في دعم هذا القطاع من خلال الابتكار والخدمات الرقمية. تستعرض هذه الجلسة مساهمة البنوك والمؤسسات المالية في تسهيل الوصول إلى السكن، وتناقش سبل تطوير الإجراءات وتبسيطها بما يعزز من كفاءة الخدمات ويوسع نطاق استفادة المواطنين منها. يتحدث في هذه الجلسة السيد أحمد طيارة، المدير التنفيذي للأعمال المصرفية، نائب المدير العام ببنك الإسكان بمملكة البحرين، السيد فيصل العبدالله، الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات المصرفية للأفراد ببنك البحرين الإسلامي، السيد صباح عبد اللطيف الزياني، الرئيس التنفيذي للخدمات المصرفية للأفراد ببنك البحرين الوطني، والسيد أحمد تقي، مدير عام الخدمات المصرفية للأفراد ببنك البحرين والكويت. فيما يدير هذه الجلسة السيد هشام أبو الفتح، وهو متخصص في العلاقات العامة والإعلام والاتصال. أهلا وسهلا بكم.
من وين أدش من هنا؟
اي حياك ابو فيصل.
Is it on? Ah, yes. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام.
Sorry, I thought we had 5 more minutes.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله يعطيكم العافيه جميعا على الحضور. بغيت اشكر اول شيء كل الباناليست، بغيت اشكر وزاره الاسكان وبنك الاسكان على هذه الفرصه ان كلنا نكون متواجدين في هذا المؤتمر. ونيابه عن الجميع بغيت بس اهني وزاره الاسكان وبنك الاسكان على هذا المؤتمر والفائده المرجوه من هذا المؤتمر. امانه يعني موجودين تونا كنا نتكلم اوف لاين a few minutes ago وامانه اللي قاعد يطرح في هذا المؤتمر من بعض التفاصيل وبعض الامور لها تداعيات جميله جدا. ويا رب الله يوفقنا جميعا ان تكون البانل هذه، خلينا نقول الجلسه هذه، تثري المؤتمر بشكل عام. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For those who don't speak sort of Arabic, the session is going to be primarily in English. We're going to have a few sometimes, we're going to be bilingual. So if you need your headsets, please do take your headsets, but we'll convene as much as possible in English. I think the whole banking language and the transaction language is English language, so sometimes it's a bit easy to do that. So I was just started off by thanking everybody and thanking the ministry and the ISKAN Bank for this opportunity to be part of this panel. And I think the panel name and the distinguished guest names are all there. So let's say hit it off straight away, thanking all the panelists to be part of this panel. I'll start with Mr. Ahmed. You are, I would say, the most neutral person sitting on the panel over here. And I think the first question that lays its foundation is ISKAN Bank, and the whole system, the housing, the Ministry of the Housing and the ISKAN Bank are one of the first institutions that have introduced the whole privatization model to all the different, from developers to the financial institutions, of which 3 of them are represented on the panel this morning. And this model has really played a very important role in enhancing the whole availability, the criteria, the eligibility, and many other factors. So can you just elaborate a bit more on the whole privatization model and how it has helped the end users in the first place?
Sure. First, I would like to look into the future and mention that as part of the public-private partnership that has been ongoing through the Government Land Development Program as a first step, and then now into the expansion of this to move into the private sector land development program, the way more than just the citizen have been able to receive the benefit of it. It's the private sector has received a benefit, and I'm talking specifically about the contracting business, the developer business, who today are able to recognize the importance of social housing as a main driver of the real estate economy per se. To the local banks, it's a major business enhancer on two aspects: the corporate lending part, which is basically ensuring that the developer is able to receive his funding as opposed to tying up all his financial resources, and to the retail banking, which is getting a lot more active today with Tasheed through partner banks as a first step. But then now you have Tasheed Plus, which is definitely offered through partner banks and is definitely expected to receive a lot of welcoming from the citizens, and we can already sense that.
Okay.
On the overall structuring of the GLDP and so on, the government has no need to tie up financial resources, and the banks are here to play that role, and it's a win-win for all the parties involved in that sense.
I think Hisham,
تفضل
if I
تفضل
can
تفضل.
just elaborate on
I like the open dialogue, so let's keep it flowing.
yes, on the initial question, because quite honestly, I've been with the Ministry of Housing and Iskan Bank since the inception of Mazaya. So we went through a very, quite a journey. And I think that
I think you've seen it on both folds personally,
from
on the Islamic side and the
banking
conventional
and
side.
from the conventional. But what truly is remarkable is, first, there's the will to privatize, which occurred years ago. And initially, the objective was simply to reduce the waiting list. And even in the dialogue and the interactions, it's always about, let's just reduce the waiting list. And you saw an uptick, but there were still teething problems. And I think with the open communication, the true nature of collaboration between the ministry, Iskan Bank, and the private sector, this dynamic shifted to a more customer-centric, user experience approach, which resulted in a very seismic growth of uptake on the social housing, different types of financing solutions. So I think, once you privatize, the customer automatically and the customer journey automatically become paramount in your thoughts and paramount in your design thinking and product structuring. And that, naturally leads to, the products becoming more mainstream and successful.
I think to complement what you said, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday there were 2 projects or 3 projects that were launched, and you were talking about they were completely off, so taken about 8 minutes to 12 minutes with hundreds of people being on the waiting list. I mean, that's how hungry and thirsty the market is.
Hisham, just to add on what Ahmed and Sabah have said, I think any strong economy would require a strong banking sector as well. And the banks in Bahrain are basically enablers by not only financing the end users, but also through financing the whole supply chain. The involvement of banks goes beyond providing mortgage loans. It goes into financing the real estate developers, the contractors, and trying to source and hedge the raw materials at an affordable prices to enable the vision of Bahrain in constructing the 50,000 homes for the.
So it's about the whole life cycle. I mean, the whole supply chain financing to the contracting to the end user. So there's because it's. Thank you for talking about that, Ahmed, because my next question was, can banks really shape or influence the social housing sector? And you've answered part of that. But from your perspective, Mohammed, also, since we've got Ahmed's comment, can banks really, just to complement what Ahmed said, really shape or influence the social housing?
Yes, definitely, Faisal. But before that, I would like to thank you for hosting us today. I would like to thank the Ministry of Housing for organizing this great event. Social housing is let's say, the priority focus in the banking sector today. It is very important. It has the great impact or return from profitability as well from a banking perspective. And banks also play a great role by being not just the financer, but maybe also being as an advisor for the end user, by advising and showing them which is the more suitable product, social housing product that they should choose and choosing their dream house. So I think that today banks working together with the Ministry of Housing brings a great opportunity towards our commitment and providing the suitable solutions that the clients are looking for.
Oh, thank you very much.
If I
Yeah,
may-
تفضل.
To add to this part, which is something we are always seeing. If we look at Tasheel and then today Tasheel Plus, which is basically opening the door for people to get financing up to 91,000 dinars. Across the board, whether it's the ministry or Iskan Bank, we check eligibility criteria, and then the liberty is for the citizen to choose. And then definitely it's very important for the private sector, local banks to provide that financial advisory. You will have your digital platforms, you will be able to onboard these people and so on. I feel it's extremely important that you catch them at the outset and try to look at their financial planning or help them in their financial planning. Not everyone everybody from what we have witnessed would say, okay, now what's the maximum amount that I can get? Let me get it. Let me get the biggest house ever possible. And then it's just a newly married couple. There's no kids, there's nothing. And immediately they start their life with a major burden on their disposable income. And it doesn't have to be this way. And this is where the private sector banks can take that role of financial advisory, which would give confidence to that citizen to say, you know what, I want to continue banking with this bank. There is so much that you could cross-sell in the future and so on. And that's definitely a benefit where the private sector banks can play a role with. In the digital transformation, you will be gathering big data, whether you like it or not. With artificial intelligence models and so on, it will be able to analyze and it will be able to provide insight as to what's best for you.
If I'm to loop into this point, I believe that
The topic is innovation. So
yes,
just to remind everybody.
with the bank's experience and recent journey in digitalization, most incumbent banks used to face the same issues that a lot of the governments do with legacy systems, lack of access to data, unorganized data pools and data accuracy. So I think with that journey in mind and with our access to innovative, digital solutions, be it account aggregators, leveraging on open banking, fintech solution providers, we are in the right position as financial entities to really bring this ecosystem to life and maybe even work hand in hand in centralizing a single source of truth, for example, for property registration, because that's a pain point for us.
Correct.
And ultimately, what is fintech?
And for the end user as well.
Yes, I mean, fintech really evolved because it solves pain points. And today, if our pain point is property registration, digitizing that would lead into exponentially expediting the loan approval process and the transaction occurring. A single source of truth for e-salary verification, for example. If we bring all of this together and we bring this innovation, which would also result in other positive benefits for the bank for other products as well.
Yeah.
But we can really help shape and exponentially increase the acquisition of these funds.
I think, to be honest, there's something that has to be said. Your Excellency, when I sort of congratulated you when you kind of took the post of the housing, and I'll converse in Arabic. قلت لك مثل ما يقول الله يعينك على المسؤولية كبيرة. your reciprocation was Allah يعيننا, thank you, Allah يعيننا كلنا. And it just proved إن ترى ما بستعمل كلمة قضية بس الtopic أو matter concerns everybody. فعبدالعزيز عبدالله لما the same thing happened when I congratulated you on the post وقلت لك الله يعيننا, and he said the same thing. لا الله يعيننا كلنا إن شاء الله, كلنا يد واحدة. This openness of dialogue and it resulted, by the way, Juma'ah, till this session when I was thankfully asked to moderate the session. I was asked by Amina and the team to kind of put the questions and everything, and when I said, okay, what would be your thoughts, they said no, what we want to listen and we want to do it together because we want to listen to everybody. This open dialogue, ya Juma'ah, tara, I mean, and I speak on behalf of everybody on this panel, everybody thanked, and these are not just words of glory just being said. This open dialogue proves that that the whole topic and the whole, I will not say issue because this is an ongoing matter, this whole program, let me call it program, is a welfare program for the whole country. And the welfare of everybody is at stake over here. So thank you for that. In all honesty, Allah يعطيكم ألف عافية يعني على هذا الموضوع. I think the topic here, since we're talking about innovation, now to take off where Sabah has left, I think my next question was actually, everybody talks about innovation. It's easy to say that we're innovating, but what does, in the social housing aspect, what does innovation really mean? Is it, I'm just being the devil's advocate and don't shoot the messenger, as they say. Is it just to make those seamless, I would say, accessibility to our customers? Is it just to have our digital app speak? I don't know.
Okay.
Sabah, since you started,
very short.
But then
Very
we go
short
to Faisal and
elaboration.
Ahmed.
From my perspective, I think innovation goes two ways. One, you need to innovate the product or the solution or the finance. Two, you need to innovate the accessibility to that product. I think this is, the gist of it. When it comes to innovation of products, are we just offering, vanilla financing? Even today, with all the amazing products that are being offered, if you think about it, the more properties are built, the more financing is easily accessible and becomes mainstream with, and these waiting lists really increase rapidly, the more pressure is on the infrastructure. And when there's pressure on infrastructure, we keep talking about eco-friendly housing, we keep talking about green financing. So how do we, reflect or implement the government strategy towards green energy and tie it hand in hand with the housing boom? For example, an innovation would be concessions or enhanced financing offerings provided by the ministry or the banks themselves for efficient or solar-powered social houses, which have less electrical impact or consumption on the electrical grid. So that's one aspect of innovation, and then naturally comes the digitization and the streamlining.
Faisal, I know that you have something to say because you've been nodding your head.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I mean,
and then Ahmed, I need your input على نفس الموضوع. الله يخليك.
I totally agree with Sabah. Innovation and digitization, we have the basic. We just need to build up on it as well. For instance, Beatty app is an amazing app where you're bringing the developers and the banking and ISKAN segment all together for making it a one-stop shop for the client to finish and finalize his requirements. So and as Sabah mentioned as well, today, mashallah, ISKAN products are so many that can cover a lot of segments that we would like to see in future. Maybe more creative as well products that we have. So this is where it comes, the bank roles to be more as an advisor as well, to advise the client on the suitable product to choose, not only the highest amount for them to take and obtain it, and then in future they might have problems as well. So the basic is there. We just need to maybe focus on it more, to build on it and develop it.
Okay, Ahmed.
Yeah. I think when it comes to innovation, we need to understand the reason of why we need to innovate. And we align the goal with the ultimate goal when it comes to the social housing, which is providing affordable costs for the end user to be able to acquire. So there are many different ways, but if we are talking about the banking sector, especially when it comes to the local banks, it is characterized by a high operating cost due to the small size of the economy in which they operate. So what's happened basically, when you try to innovate, you try to reduce your operating cost. This is one side, so you will be able to pass better pricing and better rates to the end user. This is one angle of the innovation. The second angle of the innovation, it gives you the reach, and it gives you the connectivity, and it gives you the economy of scale to do more transactions in a shorter turnaround time. This is if we talk about the end user. If we talk about the real estate developers, having innovated structuring will basically facilitate to them being able to reduce the costs. And the faster that they can generate the cash flow from the transaction, it will reduce their costs, especially at today's high interest rate environment.
Hello. So Ahmed, from your point of view, when banks or financial institutions get involved with like social/affordable housing, is it purely from a business perspective, or is it the ESG angle, as we say? Do banks see it as that they're obliged to do that, or they do it out of their own goodwill, or there's always a mixture of both? Because at the end of the day, the financial institution needs to make money, right? So I don't know. What's your take? Again, this is pure.
Yes.
I'm not talking about you're not representing your financial institutions. This is a thought leadership panel, so let's be very open about it.
It is basically a mix of both. It has its social aspects, but at the same time, it's a good business for the banks. And when you think about it, you basically establish a long-standing relationship with the clients for the next 25 to 30 years.
Hello.
And at the same time, it complements also other supply chain within the economy. So it's not only a focus on a single transaction, it's also the surrounding and the ecosystem around the housing and where you are basically contributing. So I think as of now, approximately maybe it's 2/3 of the total housing loans in Bahrain is basically the social housing. So it's a big percentage of the mortgage loans. It gives the incentive for all other banks to participate in the social housing schemes and basically to promote this.
Hello.
On the ESG part, I just wanted to.
Okay. نروح فيصل بعدين صباح بس قول يلا.
No,
قول. I want the neutral look يعني. How do you see the banks looking at it? Are you in agreement with Ahmed first of all? That it's the mixture of both? No. Ahmed طيارة. Are you agreeing with Ahmed that there is a mixture of both? Because you started the whole financial advisory.
No, absolutely, okay. Definitely, and that's where I wanted to go further on the ESG, which is a topic that's becoming pretty pressing. You have Central Bank of Bahrain requesting certain strategies to be set in place, certain KPIs
but
to be
also
followed.
ESG, just being the devil's advocate, it is a very favorable buzzword for a lot of things. Let's really focus on the real impact from a tangibility perspective. Yeah.
And I'll go exactly into that direction.
Go ahead.
So Iskan Bank has embarked since 2024 with a first round of financing of approximately 250 million dinars. And with a long-term strategic objective of ensuring that Bahrain or the social housing sector can have access to international debt capital markets in the long run.
Yeah.
And then for whatever we've been borrowing, the local market has been able to absorb. But with the long-term plan in place, that is being modified over time. This time we're moving again into a second round of financing. And we have been stressing strategically with the potential lenders that we would like to see more accessibility to the regional as well as the international capital markets, which has been the case now. And so the aligned players have approached us and say, you know what, the Iskan Bank, you have S written all over your mandate. Why don't we try to put this as a sustainability linked loan or anything of this sort? And yes, it's a buzzword, and that's where we immediately went into the question, what's in it for us?
Yes.
And
as a country, what's in it for us? As an end user, what's in it for the institutions that will be taking part in that?
Absolutely. And so the point is, we don't want to suck up the entire liquidity from the local markets. So we want to keep the local market continuously playing on any new round of financing. You want the regional to come, the international to come, and then there is apparently a lot of appetite because there aren't so many opportunities in the international debt capital market that have an ESG of this magnitude. Now, what this would do for Bahrain eventually in the long run hasn't been proven yet, but you'll have a lot of appetite. So it's a lot of demand for a smaller requirement of funding, which could eventually make it more competitive for Iskan Bank or Bahrain to borrow at better rates in the future. But definitely you have a pool that's a lot larger, and that's definitely something that we would be interested to look at. So that's from the ESG part only, just so that we don't keep it as just a buzzword.
Point made. Faisal.
Yeah, so if I will comment on ESG and sustainability, it is, as you have mentioned, it is being, the point of focus at the moment. Previously, as bankers, we were only thinking about profitability, and for me as a frontliner, it's always about making profit and earning my bonus and targets and achieving them. But today, we can see the focus on sustainability and ESG is very important for the continuity of the banking sector and the economy, and for people as well. So banks can contribute in this by let's say offering easy financing for solar power, for making green homes as well. This can be considered. We saw this being practiced in Bahrain market as well. Hopefully we can see it in future to expand, and having both aspects are very important from banking perspective today.
So on that topic, to still stay on the ESG, I want to really ask all of you to kind of think about your portfolio of customers in your organization and just answer my question, which is the following. I know that there are certain institutions of Bahrain that has offered, special pricing for like solar housing, solar panels, special pricing for, similarly, when you go to the automotive on electric cars, there's a lot of focus on the environment. So there's the E, there's the S. But in all honesty, what is the uptake from the customer's perspective? Do they opt for these services, or do we as financial institutions have a role to play in educating them? Because let's not also forget that if you focus on the E part, because the ESG is 3 letters, right? So if we focus on the E part, there is also a capital investment that needs to be made in order for you to see that medium to long term kind of uptake. And then you have laid that foundation from an infrastructure perspective as the ministry and everything. But in all honesty, what's the uptake of these products and services? Sabah, I'll start with you.
See, I think
since you brought it up in the first place.
Yeah, ultimately, is there a market for it?
Is there a market for it?
And the market is created if there is a need.
There is a need.
A need. Because today in Bahrain, we're blessed with a lot of subsidized services.
Correct.
And if you notice, the moment there's even any form of rumors that any such subsidies would decrease, you find people scrambling for alternative cost-saving measures.
Yeah.
And I'm one of them, if I'm honest with myself.
Anything that touches our pockets, we're all aligned.
Exactly. So creating a market or a need, creating customer awareness on the benefits, because, ultimately, more so the lower mass, the ultimate aim or need for them is to provide food on their table more so than save the environment. If we're really honest with ourselves, they have bigger problems to worry about. So, that need is missing. The customer awareness is missing. The benefit for them in terms of adopting solar solutions that would enhance, quote unquote, the ESG.
It's missing, Sabah, because there is lack of awareness.
There's a lack of communication from ourselves. There's a lack of overall awareness from the end user of the benefits that they would yield from this, above and beyond the environmental benefits. Because there's a lot of benefits you would, realize from cost saving on your electrical bill, for example. If you have your solar panel connected to your electrical grid in terms of your monthly crediting into your EWA bill.
I think there is something also with EWA. There is
connectivity
yes,
to the grid.
no, there is something on the bill itself.
Yes.
If you're using that, you get that.
If you install solar panels, it can credit your bill
حلو.
with
بس أنا أبو فيصل, that's my question. Why are people not really opting? I know you've mentioned the three kind of reasons, but again, does that put pressure on financial institutions, Ahmed, from your perspective, and Faisal, that we need to be doing much more going out there? Or is it something that the ministry or Iskan Bank have to kind of mandate for to create that need? Because sometimes the need is kind of created by, I don't know. I'll argue you between.
I believe, Faisal, that it is gonna reach there. Okay, however, but it is still in the initial stage. We need to create awareness. We need to market it more as well. With the increase of expenses, people will eventually shift to electronic solutions or the electric cars or maybe the green homes, because as Sabah mentioned as well, that today the main focus of our end users is providing food on the table for his family. So we will reach there. It is still in the initial stages. More marketing, more advertisement, more awareness is required from both segments, either from banks, private sectors, or government as well.
I think we can agree it's important for the country and for the future generations. And I think the key here is to align incentives. So as long there is an incentive for all parties, the driver to this initiative will grow. But our focus should not only be on when it comes to the solar panels. I think when it comes to ESG, the green area that we have, the water consumption management, electricity management, and using some electric efficiency devices, waste management. So the focus should not be only driven to solar. I think specifically in our region, scarcity would be more when it comes to water and the water consumption, and we have to focus on this. So I think the idea is how we can provide the incentive. And there is a lot of banks who have started giving some interest rate cuts to compensate for any client who's going to basically adopt such solutions.
Yeah.
And also the government from their side, they are providing certain incentives to encourage this to grow further. But as my colleagues have said, it is still in the introductory phase. And when technology becomes cheaper, we will see it also growing further in the country.
Okay, we've got 14 more minutes. I'd like to open it to the public. If anybody has any question, please do let us know. We can just raise your hands. I see one over here. Until the mic comes to you, I would like to throw a question to Ahmed. We can have a mic here, Allah Khalid. Behind Fatma, exactly. Ahmed, there's a question. This is a question that I want each of the bankers to answer, but I want to start with you. Can banks, regardless of the competition that's between them, can banks collectively complement the whole innovation in the social housing sector? I think park that question to all of you, because this is something that again, beyond the competition. Can banks really complement each other to provide the end user with the transformational accessibility and the results that are oriented? Let's take a question first. Tfadali.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Since the topic is promoting innovation in the bank sector, okay, what are the upcoming innovate plans, especially since the beneficiary will be continue to pay installments until he reached the age of 60 with increased annual profit?
Okay. Thank you very much. Tara, that was my last question. Thank you for asking it. وفرتي علي. الله يعطيك العافية.
بس في بعد.
طيب قولي السؤال الثاني مرة واحدة.
So are you planning to cancel the profit increasing to achieve customer satisfaction, or reduce the long term and reduce the profit? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Maybe I'll just
تفضل. Any of
brief.
you, I'll open
Yeah.
it to anybody.
Or
Anyone
you
who
guys
to
would
answer.
like to take. So I'm a very pragmatic person, so my answer will be very pragmatic.
They're answering 1 and 2. Well,
I'll just overall.
go ahead.
It's important to recognize that banks also have shareholders. We are not charities. Yes, we are very supportive of the ethical responsibility to provide social housing, favored rates, but writing off profits is would get us all fired and would have significant ramifications on the economy as a whole.
يعني بقول لك
Now,
CV يعني.
now, if I look at what innovative options do we have, I think the access to financial solutions, the concept of segmenting clients based on whichever high-level segments banks implement, employment history, age, and such, needs to be revised. I believe applying AI-driven credit assessment and financial analysis of the customer's overall financial well-being and expenditures and such would allow banks to price on a client basis based on risk appetite and risk-based pricing, would be able to accept or reject facilities on an individual basis rather than a segmented client base.
Is Ahmed, any of you, if you have anything to add,
Yeah,
please.
if I may add, Fayçal, just يعني, I wish that we could, fulfill your wish, but at the end, who will pay our salaries as well? So, but as you have mentioned, with the digital solutions that being there, and hopefully in future, the more banking facilities that are being provided through the digital apps that will reduce costs eventually, this might reduce the profit on the end user.
I think.
You want to comment?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yes.
Just to add, I think big part of the interest is already subsidized.
Yes.
And there is a great support from the government to make owning a house is more easier than it used before. So a big part of the loan is subsidized. And basically our dream as bankers to make it more affordable when it comes to the additional loan that the client requires from us.
Correct. Okay, we have a question there.
Just wanted to mention.
Sorry, one more comment before you. I'm so sorry, I apologize.
Banks are already complementing each other whenever they come into a syndication. That's already a given. In terms of innovation of products, this is a continuous back and forth between the local banks acting as a co-designer in policy making,
yes.
Which is basically based on feedback received by customers. If you look at Tasheel was launched in 2022, 2025 you're moving with Tasheel Plus. This is basically the fact that all the banks and the citizens themselves have come back with saying, okay, this is a pain point, this is something that we would like to see, and so on. And this is where innovation will come from, the fact that the proper design thinking approach from all the stakeholders together in the best interest of the citizens.
And this is exactly what I meant when I made the comment about this continuous open dialogue and openness and receptiveness to all the different points that are available, because it's an ongoing program. Go ahead. I'm so sorry, sir. I apologize.
It's okay. Dominic McPolin, I was ministerial advisor in the infrastructure since 1988. I'm retired now.
Pleasure to have you.
I'm the ex-chief of Central Planning Office. And I've been involved in the implementation of most of Bahrain's PPPs.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to make a couple of innovation suggestions. They're related. One of the big issues is the risk apportionment between government and the private sector. And I believe one of the great areas of innovation is a better understanding with a view to looking at the mechanics of finance, is to bring down the risk premiums. We've had a major difficulties, particularly with finance from international finance, because we don't have the dialogue that you're talking about. And those risk premiums are very, very high when we don't have an apportionment of risk. And when risk happens, because we are Bahrain, we very often go in and as a government and take those risks and deal with them, even though we're paying for them in the risk premium. So just to say, first area of innovation is this apportionment. I like to think of PPP in the future not as a public-private partnership, but a public-private platform, a platform upon which the government provides and does and risk manages those risks best organized and managed by government, and the private sector sit on top of that. Now, the second innovation I would like to see is happening in many places is a very simple change to the way we manage risk. And that is a very simple concept, actually. It's risk avoidance, it's conflict avoidance, so that you have mechanisms early enough, particularly in the implementation stage of all of our projects, to bring in formal processes of risk, conflict avoidance and mediation before we go up the ladder to arbitration and then eventually litigation. And we've been with some of our PPPs very high up that ladder in the past with delays and enormous costs. So two innovations: risk apportionment, fine-tuning, better apportionment, bringing the risk premium down in the finance. And the second one is a new approach to conflict avoidance, where we have Team Bahrain in action. Very important, with multiple agencies involved. You may have a good relation with one agency. It's always the nail that's missing from the horseshoe that loses the nation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah. Ahmed?
Dominic, good morning. Just in answering your question, I just want to open the hood of the government land development program just to talk about the risk setup and how the framework works. So number one, the government land development program is about land from the Ministry of Housing, and the private sector is a bidder that is going to come and construct, and then at the end, when the houses are sold, he would receive back whatever his cost was plus his profit. In risk enhancement, the Ministry of Housing would cap the prices of the houses to be sold in such a way that the market would find them extremely attractive. So in that way, it's trying to protect the developer. In addition to that, we know that the developer is potentially a contractor that requires financing and he needs to approach the banks. And for the banks to be able to listen to him and provide financing at an attractive rate, Iskan banks sometimes, or most of the time, would offer a buyback or a buyer of last resort for any unit that doesn't sell. And with that in mind, the banks have been pretty much open for corporate lending because they know that their exposure is taken care of. And in general, I mean, yesterday was an affidavit of support for the fact that 78 villas were sold so fast. But in general, the structuring of that PPP, which is the Government Land Development Program, has taken this into consideration and has tried as much as possible to mitigate most of the risk. And I think the ministry is seeing a growing interest into this model, and definitely there is more to come for the future. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
The risk profile of the product is one thing. The risk profile of delivering the product is what I'm really concentrating on.
Okay.
It's when your contractor can't get on, when there is no infrastructure, when there is one piece of the jigsaw missing, what happens? It has a knock-on effect. And that's, quite frankly, an experience from many of our public-private partnerships, trying to integrate the private sector, a company, into business processes that are basically national and involve over 70 agencies, not one ministry. That's where the risk is. And it's all about integration, and it's all about program delivery. It's all about Team Bahrain, actually. It's how to formulate that delivery, not the end product risk, that is hurting many investments if we don't get it right. And there are ways that we have discovered of doing this better. And we should innovate in those ways of doing things better. And affect the risk profile for the delivery of the product, not the end product itself.
Noted, Dominic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I think we have 1 minute 45 seconds, and I'd like to give the panelists the last word. إذا سؤال سريع محمد?
Hey, just one more question. As we can see, there are a lot of mergers between banks and acquisitions, and therefore, what do you expect, in your opinion? Will the interest rates go down for the end user with all these changes in the banking landscape?
I think it's a very tactical question, not probably related to the innovation aspect, but any opinions, bankers? Does that have a knock-on effect on end users?
So are you asking, are rates going to be impacted by a cost-driven market in terms of aggressive pricing within the market, or are you talking about, Fed rates and borrowing rates impacting and a high-level treasury outlook on rates?
No, your first feedback. How will it affect in the near future?
In an open market, competition is fierce, and each bank has their own pricing strategies. In any business, there are certain means of applying strategies. You can have a cost-driven strategy whereby you rationalize your costs in order to compete on price. You're going to have a differentiation strategy, which is having a USP, differentiating factor. Hence, you compete on that aspect rather than price, and you can price yourself above. Or you can have what is called a blue ocean, which is a combination of both, which is more or less one of the holy grail or the hardest to achieve. So, I mean, it's very difficult to answer your question because I don't understand, or maybe not have that much insight on each bank's strategy. Some go for market share acquisition as opposed to profitability. Others go for the income statement, and realization and the biggest impact of on your capital.
So if I may add, Faisal, so pricing has different hands or aspects that will affect it to be reduced. But maybe mergers might not have that big influence on it. However, answering your question, the mergers that is being today happening in Bahrain market, it's mainly to create a much bigger banking system where they will be able to enter tenders and support the government and projects. For instance, the ISKAN projects or other big projects where the banks will be able to finance the government to expand for future. But it's not mainly a certain aspect that will reduce pricing in future.
Okay, I'll throw a statement at each of you and in about 30 seconds or so, because the time's up. I can hear the team at the back whispering. So in 30 seconds, each of you, I'll make a statement and just let me know if you agree or you don't. Ahmed, I'll start with you and I'll come to that side. Innovation is a continuous program that each of us is tasked with, and it will never stop. It will continue, and financial institutions are eager to continue developing with the different stakeholders that are available locally, regionally, and internationally to ensure that innovation does not stop and always benefits the end users. Agree? Not agree?
Absolutely true. I think with the innovation and through accelerating the whole turnaround time, and we understand in banking time is money, it will make things faster. It will improve the cash flow conversion cycle, receiving and completing of projects, where we look at accelerating the process from end to end. And I can see some, innovation coming in the near future. I'll give some examples of one-click eligibility approval happening through banks. This can be achieved through integration, AI, and data analytics. Another innovation that we can see with the support and digitization from the government side as well is the blockchain-based contracts, where it can quickly transfer ownership of title deeds and contracts. And Beatty was an excellent ecosystem, but still it can grow further to include other supporting businesses that it complements the purchase of a home.
يعطيك العافية. وفيصل صباح.
Maybe I'll just give a very brief personal view on innovation. I believe that innovation is the aggregation of efforts from within and through partners or suppliers to deliver superior customer experience and or redefine the customer experience in any industry and any retail market.
يعطيك العافية. محمد.
I totally agree. As we can see today, open banking is providing almost everything, and the innovation segment in it is the limit is the sky. So we never know what's we're gonna see in the future as well.
All right. And the neutral zone.
Yani to us, definitely citizen at the start. So the best innovation can happen for you to go very, very close to the citizen and try to hear the citizen. Also advise the citizen, and then everything can follow from this, from a neutral perspective.
يعطيكم العافية. أحمد تقي, صباح الزياني, فيصل العبدالله, وأحمد طيارة. Thank you very much for the panel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all your questions and for يعطيكم العافية. شكرا.
عافيك. مشكور فيصل. يعطيكم العافية.
نشكر المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة النقاشية القيمة، وندعو سعادة وكيل وزارة الإسكان والتخطيط العمراني السيدة فاطمة المناعي لتكريم المتحدثين. تكريم المتحدثين. إذن السادة الحضور، نبقى الآن مع كلمة رئيسية تسلط الضوء على الاستراتيجيات المكانية لبناء مجتمعات مستدامة في مناطق وسط المدينة، من خلال استعراض تجارب فعلية لإعادة إحياء الأحياء الحضرية وتحويلها إلى بيئات متكاملة تجمع بين البنية التحتية، الهوية المعمارية والمساحات العامة بهدف تعزيز جودة الحياة والتكامل المجتمعي. يسرنا أن ندعو إلى المنصة الدكتور بلير ويدمان، وهو أستاذ مساعد في جامعة نوتنغهام في المملكة المتحدة، لتقديم عرضه حول هذا المحور الهام.